Ted and Fred are at the coffee shop. Ted got there first, then Fred enters and sits down with his drink.
Hi, Fred.
Hi, Ted.
Ted looks at Fred and sees his drink in front of him. Since Fred arrived before Ted, he wondered what Fred had in his drink. Ted came to the conclusion that it was coffee with cream, due to Ted being addicted to coffee with cream. To make sure his deduction is correct, he asks,
Is that, coffee?
Fred had been noticing that Ted was looking at his drink. Maybe he wants some, Ted thought. Fred had been feeling sad that all Ted had was water. He took a drink of his hot chocolate and said,
Nope, it's hot chocolate.
Ted had thought it was coffee.
Oh. I thought it was coffee.
Ted was feeling awkward during this coffee excursion. Usually he was in top form in a small talk, but today he was off his game. It had all started this morning when he forgot to feed his dog at 8:45, and then at 9 o'clock he was late for his bathroom break. At 10 o'clock he missed his plant watering session, and to top it all off, he had been late for water and hot chocolate with Fred. He just hoped he wouldn't miss his 11:30. It's 11:15 right now. He took note of it. Ted took note that Fred had been thinking to himself for the past 5 minutes, and the silence was starting to make it awkward for him. Fred decided to ask him what he was thinking about.
What are you thinking about?
The time.
After that, the conversation broke into a silence. They just stared at each other, and then they started to shift uncomfortably. Fred was starting to feel awkward and hoped to break the awkwardness by breaking the silence with some form of small talk. He decided that a comment about the weather would be appropriate.
So how about that weather?
Ted was momentarily taken aback by this question. He hadn't really noticed the weather outside today and wondered if Ted was testing him. For his response, he chose all his words carefully.
Yes, the weather is interesting. And probably different from yesterday?
Ted was very pleased with his answer. He had obviously passed the test. Nailed it, he thought to himself. Fred thought that the answer to his question was a little overthought, but respectfully answered his answer.
Indeed, the weather is different from yesterday.
Ted was glad that he seemed to have passed Fred's weather test. Then a glance at the clock distracted him. It was now 11:25. It was approximately 5 minutes till his 11:30. Ted was happy, seeing as how he had a good chance of being on time for his 11:30. He was also nervous because if something came up, he might not be able to. Fred noticed that Ted was looking at the clock. Ted, being curious to the time, looked at the clock too. It was 11:25. A decent time, Fred thought to himself, and wondered the significance it was to Ted.
Hey, so what's the time?
Shh! I don't want to miss this.
Fred was taken aback about Ted's behavior, but decided to wait it out to see what happens. Like the way Steve Irwin waited to see what animals would do. Fred liked Steve Irwin. Then he died. Ted noticed that Fred was staring at him intently, but decided to ignore it. He had bigger things to worry about. It was now 11:29. Ted was on pins and needles, waiting for that clock to turn 11:30. Then, it did.